my kindergarten dolphins. So like I mentioned in class last week, we're going to be having a math test this week, and it's going to be happening on Wednesday. So today and tomorrow, we're going to be going over the things that we have learned during our measurement unit to make sure that we're all ready for our test. So let's talk about our objective for today, and then we'll get started. Objective is what we are going to learn. I can review how to measure length and height. And here's our other objective. I can use longer or taller than and shorter than to describe length and height. So our goal today is to review. Review means that we've already learned these things, but we're just going to go over them again to make sure we remember. And we're going to be reviewing length and height. Remember that length tells us how long something is. So when we are describing, we can say that something is longer than or shorter than something else when we compare. So I might say that my 4-stack is longer than my roll of tape. So I might say my 4-stack is longer than my pen. If I line them up, I can see that my 4-stack of blocks is longer than my pen. I could also say that my pencil is taller than my pen. So if I line these up, I see that the height, how tall they are, if I compare the height, my pencil is taller than my pen. So we're going to be talking about length and height today, how long or how tall something is. And we want to be able to use longer than or shorter than to compare. Remember that when we compare, we're talking about the differences between two things. And the words that we want to be able to know how to use today to describe are talking about if something is longer or taller than another thing, or if something is shorter than another thing. So we're going to do some review about this, and then I'm going to tell you how you'll practice at home. Okay, so right now I have 2 blue lines on my screen. I'm going to pretend they're my 2 pieces of blue string. Can we tell right now if one of them is taller than the other? Not really. Why can't we figure that out? Why don't we know if one is taller than the other? I can't see their endpoints. I can't see where this string or this string starts down here. There's something in the way. Let's move it. Let's move this block and see if we can figure out which one is taller. I moved my white block out of the way, and now I see that this string goes all the way down here, and this one doesn't go down as far. So which string do you think is taller, string 1 or string 2? String 1 sure does look taller or longer. Let's line them up from their start points here, and it'll help us see it better. I've lined up my strings so that they both start at the same place. Remember that when we line things up by their start points, we have them both starting at the same place. We can see their length or height a lot more easily. Once I moved string 1 and 2 starting from the same place here, I can really easily see that string 1 is much taller than string 2. Let's look at this with length. So here we're looking at height, and I can see that from the same start point, string 1 goes up much higher than string 2. How could I compare these strings? What could I do to use my words shorter than or taller than? Well, I could say string 1 is taller than string 2. How could I talk about shorter than? What could I say? I could say string 2 is shorter than string 1. I'm talking about both strings, and I'm comparing, talking about which one is taller or shorter. Let's look at length and do the same thing. I have 2 strings again. We're going to call this one 1 and this one 2. Can we tell which string is longer right now? Maybe, but it's a little bit tough. How come it's kind of tough to tell? They're not really lined up at their endpoints. I want to line them up, and then I will be able to see which one is longer. Okay, so I lined up my strings now. I have 1 and 2. I lined them up. They're both starting at the same point here. Now I can clearly see which string is longer. And how could I talk about these strings and describe which one is longer? What could I say? I have string 1 and 2. I would say string 2 is longer than string 1. Now you try. Tell me about the shorter string. How would you describe which string is shorter? Make sure you compare it to string 2. Very good. So we could say string 1 is shorter than string 2. Very good. So remember that our objective for today was to be able to compare or describe using those words shorter than and longer than. This is going to be something that I ask you to do during your test. So to practice this, I want you to find 2 things to compare in your house. And I want you to compare their height, how tall or short something is, and I want you to compare length, how long and short something is. So let me give you an example of what you could do. So I'm going to pretend to be a kindergartner now to turn in my homework. Hi, Miss O. I'm going to talk to you about comparing length and height. So I have a marker and a book. When I line up the endpoints, my book is taller than my marker. My marker is shorter than my book. Now I'm going to look at length. If I line up the endpoints, I can see that the book is longer than my marker. The marker is shorter than my book. All right, so I just compared length and height. I used the words longer than and shorter than, and I showed 2 things that I was comparing. All right, kindergartners, go ahead and give that a try. If you need help, you can come to Homework Help today, or you can let me know, and I'm happy to help you out. Remember that this is all review. We have practiced this before, but we want to make sure that when we have our test on Wednesday, we remember everything that we've learned. All right, kindergartners, I'll check in with you later. Bye!